Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the instant post-match reaction to Newcastle United 2, Everton 3 at St James's Park. In a must-win game, Newcastle United didn't win. The easiest game on paper in one of the hardest weeks ahead of football for any team in the world. Newcastle shit the bed and fluffed their lines in this game. I'm going to get stuck right into this in a minute, talk about the game, talk about some of the shocking performances and shocking moments of this game from Newcastle United, because there was many. I don't care how positive you are, my word, you cannot spin that. It was dreadful at parts of the day. The crowd booed as well. I'd love to hear the spin on the righteous truth warriors who have a go at people who are, oh, it's only them on the ground that booing. They were booing there as well. So unless your ears aren't working, go to Specsavers and do specs and ears. We'll get stuck into this in a minute. Before I do, smash the button, subscribe if you haven't already. Help get us to the next milestone, which is 13,000 subscribers. We're getting close, couple of hundred away. You guys can help us get there. We're live in the chat, loads of you in there already, all very upset about that performance. I'm more disappointed than upset, right? I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to get into them as well, because I was really disappointed in that performance. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But the whole point of this fan base this season, I've lost my head with the fan base this season. I really, really have, because you're not allowed to have an opinion. And even if you watch dross like that and you watch a performance like that was lethargic, that lacked quality in so many areas, you're going to get dug out and had a go at for having an opinion. You're allowed an opinion on this channel. You're allowed an opinion in this chat as well. And whatever your opinion is whatever it is. But I know what mine is. I'm going to give it to you right now. So let's get into the lineup then for this game. So there was some changes in the lineup for this game. In terms of Jacob Ramsey came back, more on him in a second, my word. Jacob Ramsey came back. He trained, I think, the other day, so that was good to see him back. Standard back four, Pope in goal, definitely more on him in a minute. Trippier, Hall, Chow, and Dan Burn, the ever-favourite Dan Burn, who I think maybe needs to take a little time out of this team. Eddie Howe, we'll get into that in a minute. There was Tonali and Joe Linton in midfield. There was Elanga on the right. There was Gordon and Voltemade. I think Voltemade was still in that deep line midfield role. And then Gordon lead the line. And as I said, Jacob Ramsey came into the team. Now, looking at this on paper, right, you looked at Everton, and no disrespect to Everton, and you thought Everton at St James's Park, despite them actually having quite a good record, by the way. I didn't even realize how good a record they've got at St James's Park. But I was looking at some of the Everton fan pages and stuff before we did the preview and before the game, and a lot of them were digging their strikers out. My word, we made Beto look like prime Drogba today, the way he played against us. My God. But they were digging out their strikers because they haven't really got a centre forward, and they want one in the summer, and that's right for them. If Everton had a proper number 9 today, I mean, Beto was brilliant, to be fair. I'll get into him in a second. But if they had a proper number 9, 15, 20 goal season number 9, they'd have smashed us today. They'd absolutely ruined us today. But the game starts, and you can tell straight away. I mean, I hate these modern day kickoffs. They really, really piss me off. Everton scooping the ball up and volleying it to Newcastle. Newcastle doing it in the second half, kicking the ball straight back to Everton. Just get the ball down and play and try and attack the team. Stop whacking it forward to them. They're doing a high press and the press game. Fuck off, man. Just get the ball and play with it. Football is getting on my nerves at the minute. It really is. But you could tell straight from the off that Everton weren't pissing around. They were here to play. There was some lovely little one-touch passing between them, knocking the ball around. No fear in Newcastle, knocking the ball around us. We looked disjointed. Not many people were getting their shit together. Outside of Jacob Ramsey, really, in the first half, who I thought played really well, worked hard, close people down, try to make something happen with the ball. Tonali now and again as well. It wasn't too bad. But the rest of them were really struggling. You know, Nick Voltemade was in that deep line midfield role. A couple of nice little touches, I think, in the opening moments of the game. But outside of that, the game just passed him by. I mean, I'll get into Voltemade in a minute, but this is the first game that I'm genuinely worried about Nick Voltemade at Newcastle United after watching this game today. Gordon was up front. He wasn't really getting any of the ball at all, really. You know, we didn't really have any massive clear-cut chances. I don't think I can remember anyway. In the first 20 minutes, you know, they went forward, had a couple of attempts. I think we were huffing and puffing as well. There was nothing really of any real particular note, I can imagine, in the first 20 minutes. Then they get the corner, and Jared Branthwaite scores from a header, and it's atrocious marking by Sandro Tonali. I don't know where he is. I don't know if it's actually Tonali's man or whether he's had to run to pick him up. I just remember watching Tonali about 5 yards behind Jared Branthwaite, trying to pull him and trying to grab him. Jared Branthwaite has a little glancing header. It manages to trickle past about 4 or 5 Newcastle players and then off the post in the far corner, and Everton are 1-0 up, and you're thinking, what is going on here? And it took that to get any kind of reaction from Newcastle at all, really. And even that reaction was relatively slow. Eddie Howe spotted really quickly that Nick Voldemort was not in the game at all. Gordon wasn't getting a sniff. So he puts Gordon on the left-hand side, puts Voldemort back up front. Gordon certainly looked more lively on the left-hand side, started to try and attack his full-back, started to tuck inside, Hall on the overlap. We looked a little bit more dangerous on the left-hand side. Voldemort looked completely invisible even up front. I was expecting to see more from the lad, but the game just passed him by completely. And we do get the goal in the end. It's great play from Anthony Gordon. It comes through. It started him and Hall kind of on the left-hand side. It comes back. They recycle possession. It goes over to Tonali. It's a beautifully weighted pass to Jacob Ramsey. His first touch is superb. He was the best player on the park by a mile. He takes his first touch, sets himself perfectly, ready for the shot. Then the Everton player closes him. I think it's Sarkovsky closes him down. It flicks up off him, goes into the back there. And Newcastle are 1-1. You're thinking, right, come on, Newcastle, let's get into this, right? We're 1-1. Let's get into the game. We can take control of this game right now. And even after we got the equaliser, it just didn't spark anything in life. There wasn't a great deal of vigor in the team or effort in the team or desire. All of them players, bar Jacob Ramsey and Tonali to an extent, looked disinterested. Certainly in that first half. Lewis Hall came a bit more alive, I think, in the second half, but they just looked disinterested. The passing was shit. There were so many poor passes. I mean, Joe Linton gave away so many passes today. I lost count. I absolutely lost count. You know, he couldn't pass wind if he drilled a tin of beans today, Joe Linton. It was awful. You know, I know he gets the assist for the Murphy goal, which I'll get into in a second, but most of his simple 5-yard passes, they were totally undercooked. Everton players sniffing them out. Dewsbury Hall was all over our midfield today. He was everywhere. And Dyer looked like he could beat Trippier at any time. I don't think Trippier had a really bad game, in all fairness, but I just felt like Ndiaye could skin him at any time. He just looked like he was in second gear, really. But what frustrated me about the performance from the lads was we didn't really get challenged by Karabag in midweek. I know it was a tight game in the end, but they were all playing in second gear, especially after the 6th minute where we were 2-0 up. And we didn't really exert a great deal of energy in the Karabag game. So I expected more from the lads today, and they just didn't deliver. They just didn't get it. St. James's Park was as quiet as a library. You could hear it. It was really quiet. And all this noise about all the armchair fans and the online fans having abuse and all that. People are dissatisfied in the ground as well, I guarantee. There'll be people in the ground there would have been arms crossed, blowing their cheeks out, moaning to the people to the left and right and go, what the fucking hell are we watching here? And then the worst thing happens, and there's absolutely no forgiving this at all. This isn't the first time that Nick Pope has made a horrific howler this season. Marseille, anyone? And the ball comes to him. It looks like a relatively bread and butter shot. The shot comes to him. I don't know if it's Ndiaye or it's Idrissa Gueye. And he goes to kind of palm it away. And anyone who's played in goal at any level, schoolboy level even, you know, knows to palm that either left or right or palm it out of play or something like that. And he just seems to parry it into just right into the penalty box with no real power behind it. And then Beto just strolls up and puts in the back of the net. And Everton have won the game 2-1. And you just don't understand what the hell is going on here. I said before the game in the preview that this is a must-win game for Newcastle. For me, there was 11 games to go. There's 10 games now to go in the Premier League, and 6 of those were at home. Now there's only 5 left. I said Newcastle, in my opinion, need to win all of those home games to have any chance of even sniffing the top 5 or even the top 7. They've just lost the most winnable game on paper this week, certainly. And that is not good. We've got Bournemouth and Brighton and that to come as well. We're bogey teams for us. So this is not a good start to the week for Newcastle United at all. Second half kicks off. Jacob Ramsey in the second half. My God, Jacob Ramsey, the best player in the first half, comes out onto the pitch. He must have been nursing an illness or something. And he just spews on the pitch. He spews on the pitch. He's got to get taken off for Joe Willock straight away. And I felt so. He didn't want to come off Murphy. You know, maybe Ramsey, beg your pardon. He didn't want to come off. I don't know whether he said in the changing room, I'm all right, I'm fine, I'll go on, I'll play, I'll give you a shout if I'm struggling, because he's a competitive lad and he wants to do his best for the team. And he was having a good game, but he's just spewed his ring when he's come on the pitch and he's had to go off and he ran down the tunnel. God bless him. He's got a stomach bug or something. You'll know what it's like when you got one of them. Bloody Nora. So Willock comes on to absolutely zero effect, really. No surprise when it comes to Joe Willock. He got one goal against Paris Saint-Germain. All of a sudden, everybody thought Joe Willock jumped the time machine, went back in time and was Joe Willock 3 or 4 years ago. He's not, and he won't be again. And that's why we should have sold him. There's loads of players at this club that should have been sold and cashed in on to turn over the squad, to freshen the squad up. And that is not happened, and it's not happened at all, and that's why we're stagnating, right? But the game goes on. We do get back into it. Jacob Murphy comes on. Nick Votamorda goes off. Terrible game for Nick Votamorda, I've got to say. An awful game. Absolutely non-existent in the game, in my opinion. I'm just going to have a look at his stats here. I've got the stats in the background, and I just need to see what Nick Votamorda did today, because I felt he was really, really poor today. The poorest I think I've ever seen him. So we started the game in midfield, played for 56 minutes, started the game in midfield. In terms of passing, what's that? In terms of his passing, he's in the 73s, 63% passing in the opposition half. That's nowhere near good enough. Obviously, shots, no shots at all. 14 touches from Nick Votamorda in 56 minutes. Lost the ball 5 times out of those 14 touches. Wow, that is not a good game at all from the big German lad. And I've cut him slack, and I've wanted him to do really well, and I've felt sorry for him for playing out of position, but that is awful from Votamorda. His confidence is in the toilet. He doesn't know what he's doing with this team. He doesn't know what he's doing with this manager. I still stand by the fact that I don't think Howe wanted him in the first place. That's not Nick Votamorda's fault. It's not even Howe's fault, because he wanted other players and we couldn't get him over the line. And they went and signed for other teams, whether that was wages or whether that was just they didn't want to play for Newcastle. I don't know, right? But he wanted pace to lead his press. He didn't get it in Nick Votamorda. But Eddie Howe's failure to adapt the team to play to this guy's strengths has cost this kid his confidence, and has cost us as well as a team, because now we're trying to shoehorn this 69 million quid kid in somewhere. And it's just not good at all. That's probably the worst game I've seen Nick Votamorda have. It really is. And I like the kid, and I think he has been a bit let down by Newcastle and the manager, but there's no excuse for that performance. So he comes off. Murphy comes on, looks a little bit lively. He's running around. He's got a bit of endeavour about him. There's Jacob Murphy. And he gets the equaliser. It's a lovely little bit of play by Joe. And Harvey Barnes had come on as well. Barnes looked busy. Although Barnes looked quite busy today. I thought he was trying. He looks tired though, Barnes. He looks fatigued. You can see it. The zip, the pace, that off the shoulder to find that space isn't quite there from Harvey Barnes at the minute, because he's just burnt out. He's knackered. This team was massively missing players, and I'll get onto that in a second. But so Barnes is looking lively. Murphy's trying to make something happen. We get the equaliser. It's a nice bit of play from Joe Litton. Probably one of the only times I felt that he controlled his passing. He was losing his head a little bit. He was barging into people, trying to get get amongst them. He's looking not to get a few, yellow card and maybe a bit worse. Dan Burn, hospital ball at Lewis Hall. I've got to call that out. Nearly got Lewis Hall sent off, which was dreadful. But we get the equalising goal. Joe Litton slows the play down really well. A bit of skill. Dinks it back over the edge of the box. Murphy does a bit of a volley, hit and hope job. Clicks off, I think Idrissa Gueye goes in the back of the net. We're 2-2. We're back in the game, right? And you're thinking, right, come on. Excellent Newcastle. We're back in the game. Within seconds of that goal, Everton are down the other end. They run straight through the middle of us. Dewsbury Hall burns Dan Burn off completely. Can't get anywhere near him. Slips a little ball through. Lewis Hall clatters into Barry. It hits off Barry and goes in the back of the net, and Everton won this game 3-2. And honestly, there's so much to unpick from this team and this performance. It's absolutely terrible. We'll get into your comments in a second, but the major warning points from this game, in my opinion, is we have a serious problem up front. We know that. We've seen that, but we can see it so badly today. A major problem up front. Even when Gordon was there, he didn't get the ball. He didn't, get any real kind of penetration in the Everton backline. Fair play to Everton, I must say. They've not always been my favourite team, but they came in Newcastle United and they came in St James's Park. They were well structured. They were determined. They were strong. They were calm on the ball. They picked up their men. and they deserved their win. Newcastle got everything they deserved at this game, which was absolutely nothing. They were terrible to a man, really. I'm struggling for man of the match. If I'm honest, I'd probably say Tonali because he played the whole game and he did try and make something happen. So I'm probably going to go man of the match with Tonali, but even that's a stretch. I struggle to give any of them man of the match, to be honest with you. We need a new goalkeeper. We should have upgraded on Nick Pope way before time. Ramsdale was not the man to upgrade on Nick Pope at all. We didn't get Trafford. We should have got somebody better. There was other goalkeepers around that we could have went for. Forest signed Ortega from City, who would have done a better job than Ramsdale and Nick Pope. We absolutely shit the bed and dropped the ball when it come to the goalkeeping situation. Eddie Howe's still playing players in their 30s week in, week out. He hasn't added to the defense. January's come and went. We haven't added to the squad. We're still playing a 35-year-old at right back who, again, I'll say wasn't that bad today, but was lucky that Ndiaye just didn't fancy taking him for a merry-go-round because he would have done. Byrne looked sluggish again today. That's 2 games in a row. He was awful against Karabag, and he was really poor today as well. Outside of a switch from the other side of the pitch in the first half, he did nothing in the game, but give away possession, struggle to deal with Beto. Beto looked like prime Drogba today against him. He really, really did, and it was awful. It was absolutely terrible from Dan Burn defensively, and I think he has to come out of this team. I think it was a dreadful performance. Hall looked frustrated today. He gets stuck in it, so he gets a yellow card in the end. But I thought Hall was poor in the first half as well. And they've got no excuse because they didn't exert any energy midweek against Karabag. I'm sorry they didn't. And they had 5 days to recover or something like that. And to perform like that against Everton is really disappointing and really poor. That's not a top 5 team for damn sure in the Premier League. It's not a top 7 team. It's lucky if it's going to be a top 10 team. That's the easiest game this week. Manchester United on Wednesday, a resurgent Manchester United, a better Manchester United with Michael Carrick in charge. They beat that Newcastle team, in my opinion. They really do. Newcastle might show up a little bit more for that game because that'll be a game they fancy turning up for. But I still think Manchester United will beat us on Wednesday. I'll do the preview in the next few days, but Mark will be on for post-match. But that is awful from Newcastle today. They got booed at full time. They did. You could hear it. Fans were leaving before the final whistle because they knew it was gone. And just a really frustrating performance. I know all the noise after the game will be keep the faith. There's loads of games left. There's only 10 games left. This is the same shit that these people were saying, months ago. I said months ago, I don't think this team qualifies for Europe. I take no solace in the fact that I'm probably going to be right. I couldn't see enough consistency in that team months ago to get European football, and I still can't see it now. Massively missing Bruno Guimaraes. Massively missing Lewis Miley as well. We lost the ball so much in midfield. No control. Poor possession. Bad decision-making with passing. Headless chicken running. Wingers tucking inside instead of committing their fullbacks, getting into the box or putting a cross in. And they kept putting crosses in when the 6'7" centre forward wasn't even there. And they do it every single fucking game. And I don't understand why. Absolutely terrible. We had the majority of the possession, as you can see there. 17 shots, only 7 on target. Look at Everton's shot count. 9 shots, 5 on target. Much better. 3 big chances created for them. All goals. 7 corners that were all absolutely shit. This team couldn't cross the street with a lollipop man in front of them. They really couldn't. It was awful. Absolutely terrible today for Newcastle. Pass with absolutely zero threat in terms of an end product. The fact we've got 2 goals is amazing in itself. But yeah, really disappointing. And I think a massive, massive blow for European qualification. Let's get stuck into some of your comments, guys. I'll take a breath. Eddie So Clue says, Chippers, the whole fucking bunch of bottle jobs. No Europe next season. Bye. How? Well, thanks for the super chat as well, Chippers. I don't think they'll get rid of the manager. I really don't. I think this club is so deeply woven now with Eddie Howe. Whether you believe in him or not, I know you don't, Chippers. I think he's racist running Newcastle. I think he's run out of ideas. I think he's hung on to players too long. I think he hasn't freshened the squad enough. I think the tactics are one-dimensional. And I'm allowed to have that opinion. Other people actually vilify me or you, Chippers, for having that opinion. But I think you're allowed it as a football fan. Equally, you're allowed an opinion if you think he's the best manager in the world. But it's a results-driven business. So your argument doesn't carry weight when you're not getting results and you're not seeing performances. That's the whole point of the football manager. It is a high-profile job because of that. Georgia says there, Howe's favourites are failing hard. You know what the problem is as well? He's not doing them any favours because they're getting too old and they're becoming liabilities, not assets. Dan Burn can play really well and has played really well this season, but to play him week in, week out for 3 games a week, that's what you get. You get a tired, lethargic, burnt out, 33-year-old centre half who's not got he's not blessed with pace anyway, and then a centre forward comes up against him who likes a bit of the rough and tumble kind of fight. He's able to pull him around, get him involved with all that, and throw him a little bit off of his game. That's exactly what happened today. Moyes' tactics against Burn worked perfectly today, and we played into his hands. Big Ing says, what's the point of having a 6'7" striker if we don't use him as a target man sometimes? He doesn't know how to use him at all. Big English, that's the problem. Scott Screamer says, we played shite first half, expect to lose. We play shite most first halves. That's the problem. But, you're not allowed to say that anymore, are you? Yeah, Jamie says, that was fucking terrible. Absolutely. John says, same old rubbish week in, week out in the Premier League. You're right. People are using the Champions League as some barometer that Newcastle are having a really good season. Now, they're playing well in the Champions League, right? But they've not really played anybody in the Champions League. If you go back and look at the teams that they've beaten comfortably, right? They beat Benfica, who just got a brand new manager because they sacked their manager for not being good enough, right? Yes, I know he's a very good manager, but he'd just gone in there. So beat them. Beat PSV, who are a spent force in European football. Beat USG, who are part-timers. Beat Karabag, who were levels below Newcastle United. Couldn't beat Bayer Leverkusen. And we couldn't beat Paris Saint-Germain, couldn't beat Barcelona, couldn't beat Marseille. So they're the big teams that were playing in the Champions League, right? I know we've had some good performances in the Champions League, but this false narrative that Newcastle are playing really well because they're in the last 16 in the Champions League, right? Is that exciting? Yes. Is it an achievement by the club? Yes. But let's not take away the bread and butter, which is the Premier League, where we've been absolutely terrible. We've been inconsistent. We've dropped way too many points. And because of that reason, we're not going to get Champions League football for next season. So enjoy it this season. We're playing against one of the best teams in the world, and they'll probably put us out in the Champions League. I hate to burst your bubble there, but they probably will. It'll be a brilliant tie, of course it will. But we're not good enough to beat Barcelona over two legs. I'm sorry, we're not. I've just covered that one, John. So good. I said it twice. Mick says, get ready for the excuses trade and the protective questions from the press. I don't even watch them anymore, mate. I've stopped watching some of the journalist content, and I really used to like that content, and I've met them as guys, and they're good guys, and I still don't think they're bad guys. I think they are nice guys, but there's this weird, need to protect this manager from every single possible criticism that could come his way, to the point where it's now actually turned into a quite, vile vilification of a fan or anybody who tries to raise the question. And I'm just bored of it. It's so tedious and boring. I can't wait till the season's done, to be honest with you. But the season could be done after that today. Yeah, we should be beating teams like Everton at home. Absolutely, John. I totally agree with that. Chip has 5 home defeats, 3 home defeats in a row. Fucking pathetic from the whole team. Yeah, if the manager wasn't a media darling, I think there would be more questions asked about that. And if he hadn't won the cup, there certainly would be more questions asked about that. And winning the cup is a hell of an achievement. I'll never take that away from him. But that seems to act like a force field all the time for questions and criticism. Jack says, spend 30 minutes trying to equalize in the second half, take 30 seconds to concede. Fucking hopeless. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Brian says, even folks let down by known issues once again, disappointing. This is the thing, Brian. We know these problems are here. We know it. We know Nick Pope is not the same keeper he's been since those injuries. We know he makes mistakes. We know we needed a better goalkeeper. We went for Trafford and didn't get him. Yeah, it was a technicality on the paperwork from the Man City thing. It was wages as well, which is a problem. But we've kept that aging defence. We've kept defenders well into their 30s. We haven't looked at any proper full-back cover for an injury-prone Livramento, certainly in the January transfer window, when we should have done. We've had to shoehorn Lewis Miley in there, who's done really well, and then had to get Kieran Trippier back up to speed really quickly. And again, I don't think Trippier was that bad today. I'll say that. Alanga today, pace, but he's got no end product, man. Can't create anything. He's really quick, but he just doesn't do anything. You might as well have just an Olympic athlete out there with number 63 on his shirt, fucking running. I mean, no wonder Jacob Ramsey was sick after watching that football in the first half. I'd have been sick as well. Fucking awful. Gaz says, there's absolutely garbage, Chris. People need to wake up and smell the coffee. This has been all season, not just one game. They do, Gaz, but they won't, because they're so deeply kind of entranced in this support and love for the manager and the players. And listen, of course we support the team. I support the team. I support the team through thick and thin. I wouldn't put myself through watching Newcastle, certainly doing content about it, if I didn't love Newcastle United and love the team and love the players and love the manager. But at the minute, they're not performing in the Premier League. You can see that. They're making basic errors, huge errors. That Brentford game, involved a talking and a kind of a team meeting, and then after that, yeah, we saw improvement against Spurs, and yes, we saw improvement against Villa, and yes, we saw improvement against City, but that today was awful. It was terrible. It was right back to pre-Brentford. So what's happened? Did they have a little spark for a couple of weeks? Think, oh, brilliant. We're in the last 16 of Champions League now. We don't have to fucking try anymore, because that's what it looks like. Paul saying, picking Gordon, Joe Linton, Big Nick out of position from the office, gross negligence by Howe. Yeah, I don't like that either, mate. I must admit. Let the lads play in their positions, their positions. Phenomi says 5 league losses and 6. Absolute dog shit. Yeah, it isn't good, is it? Yeah, ended the Premier League season in front of our tired, bored eyes, says George. Yeah, absolutely. Keith says, laughable. I have no real words apart from that. We are fucked. And things are very likely to get better this month coming. Makes me so sad to see this crap. You know what the mad thing is, though, is... And it annoys me as well, because a lot of them players have really underperformed this season. Anthony Gordon being one of them, but you wouldn't think it. The way people talk about Gordon, like he's the second coming of bloody David Ginola and Shearer mixed together as a hybrid, he's been really poor this season. Barnes has dropped off for the past month. I love Harvey Barnes as a player, but he's dropped off for the last month. Alanga's not been good enough. Nick Voldemort regressed so badly as well. Joe Willock isn't good enough. Joe Linton has been poor. Yes, he's been injured, but he's been poor for a large majority of the season. And nobody seems to put any autonomy on the players either, And what annoys me is if we don't qualify for the Champions League, which I think we won't, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think we're going to get Champions League football. A lot of them players will run away from this football club saying, I need Champions League football for my international career. I'm a Champions League player. You haven't played like a Champions League player for the majority of this season, but they'll run out of this football club and get big money moves somewhere else. And, and then the manager will still be here trying to make things happen with a new bunch of players. But that squad is stale. That squad needs refreshing massively. And I don't think Howe will be one that they refreshed. I know I've seen a few calls for the manager already in the comments. It's entirely your call. I'm not somebody who goes all hyperbolic and has a go at you for it. Other channels will do that. I don't do that. I understand why you want the manager gone. I understand why you've lost confidence in him. I understand why other people still think he's brilliant. They're looking at the past. They're looking at the cup. They're looking at what he's done with the Champions League and how far we've got. And I understand, right? I get it. But don't attack each other for having a difference of opinion. The top and bottom is the bread and butter is the Premier League, right? Would you rather get to the semi-finals of the Champions League and have no European football next season, or would you rather go out of the Champions League in the group stages and get Champions League next season by being 5th in the league? Let me know in the comments below, because I know what I'd rather have. I'm sorry, I would, but it hasn't been good enough this season at all. Stephen saying 6'6" striker on the pitch, don't cross the ball, take Big Nick off, start crossing. I don't get it, Stephen. I genuinely don't get it. We've made Thierry Barry look like Thierry Henry. I don't know about that. He fucking fell over the ball hit him. John says, how are you doing so good in Europe and yet you're struggling in the Premier League? That's the kind of question that they should ask the manager, but they won't, because they don't want to upset him. Mark says, in his opinion, it's on the players, not Eddie. Do you know what, though? I'll give you that, Mark. That team he picked today should have performed better than that. I'll give you that. I'm not going to blame the manager for picking that team. I think that team at home against Everton should have been better. Should have been better than that. So I will give you that. I'm not going to blame the manager for that performance. But playing players out of position, I mean, he did change it. I'll give him that. He changed it very quickly. He put Voldemort back up front. Voldemort did nothing up front. And I really am worried about him. Really am worried about him right now. There's a lot of players in that squad who are nowhere near good enough to be a top 5, top 6 Premier League player. And at the minute, right now, after watching that today, Nick Voldemort is one of them. He was really, really poor. Really, really poor. Another comment there from John saying, we'll be lucky to end the season in the top half of the league. Yeah, my mate texted me that during the game. I don't disagree. Pope needs to be dropped, says Chris. I agree, but Ramsdale also has his problems, doesn't he, Chris? So who do we drop him for? I don't know. But I'd glad to see Pope out of the team. I thought that was horrendous. I'd have hooked him at half time. That's how ruthless I am as a manager. I'd have pulled him off. Magpie50 says, trust me, if we lose a derby at home, the fans will be furious. They will. I think you'll lose a lot of the fans that are continuously supporting them if we lose the derby. And if we lose it by playing badly, I think he will be in trouble. It's gone belly up. It says, goalkeeper costs again. I'd expect a Sunday morning keeper to not only save the first goal, but to catch it. Yeah, it was awful. There's no defending it. Marcus says, last 2 games, Voldemort had a rough game. Poor body language. He looks disinterested. He does. He looks like he's given up. Dank says, horrific. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. Another comment from Phil saying, to just highlight how much dead wood we're carrying if you want to go to the next level. I agree with that. There's too many pre-takeover players here. And some of them have been great, and some of them have done really well, but we need to rotate. We need to upgrade on positions. And I think that's where the manager struggled. I think he's got an affinity and a sentimentality to a lot of these players, and he doesn't move them on until they've got way past that point where they become a liability from being an asset. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. And the likes of your Jacob Murphys, even Joe Linton to an extent these days, he's never been the same player. He's got to be more ruthless like that. He held on a Longstaff too long, Miggy too long, Wilson too long. Should have upgraded on all the positions, and Nick Pope as well. And he hasn't done any of that. So yeah, for me, there is a lot of dead wood in this squad right now, and it's gone stale, needs a refresh. Super chat from Dan. Thanks, buddy. How is wasting the promising German striker in years to play Gordon up front? He'll go to Bayern somewhere and he'll do well. He will. I think he'll be off in the summer. I think he'll go to Bayern Munich or something like that, and I think he'll do really well. And he'll probably do well in the World Cup for Germany. And we'll all be like, oh, look at how he's really good. And then he'll be off to Bayern Munich. And we'll end up getting a big, fast, pacey striker. That's what he wants. Did he get booed off? I heard boos, Stuart. I heard boos. Let me know if you're at the ground and you're watching this on replay. Was there boos? Because I heard boos. Dan says it's 4 a.m. in Sydney and you stayed up for that. Oh, brother. Hope you've had a good night before that, then, mate. Get yourself to bed. Man of the match was every fan for watching that shit show, says Simon. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Alistair says, what the heck was that? Yep. Maybe that's a question that the journalists and all those fans that have a go at people for questioning quality of football can answer, mate, because I don't know. 50 says, our chances of Europe again, gone. Yeah, I don't disagree, mate. I don't think we'll get Europa. And if you guys think we're going to beat Barcelona and get through the Champions League playing like that, no chance. We ain't beating City either, playing like that and getting through in the FA Cup, which is another chance of Europe. I know it's at home and, we can beat people at home, but we can also do that like we did today. And City is a way better opponent than what we've just looked at today, as is Barcelona. So sorry, guys, I'm not feeling very confident about those games at all. And, the season is just feels like a hollow husk to me. It really does. The Champions League has been enjoyable, no doubt, at times, but you get as far as you can go and then you can't get any further because you're not good enough as a team. And I think we're kind of there now, to be honest with you. Business development, it's giving me shudders. I thought it was a big day job there. Keeper is our weakest link. Dropped so many points due to unforced errors. Cost us Europe. And he has a few times cost us. I mean, he's saved us in games as well. So you got to give him that as a balance. But as a keeper, he's definitely not. He shouldn't be our number one. He really should. We should have upgraded that position. If we lose to City next week, our season's done, says Phil. When we lose to City, in my opinion, mate. Ian says, I said it 2 years ago, the squad is shit, got pelters, overaged, lacked in quality. 2026 and Willock and Murphy and Pope, Trips and Burns are still mainstays. They're still starters, Ian. That's the problem. Still starters. That tells you this squad needs massive reinvestment, in my opinion. What was that there? I will pull this comment up, actually. Top save by Pickford then. Remember, Newcastle fans saying Pope was England's number one. Hey, do you know what, Mike? You deserve that, mate. You deserve that. Pickford does like to do it against us. He is capable of pulling off blinding saves. He wasn't that troubled today. Didn't have to really be on his toes, but it was a great save at the end, so you got to give him that. Sean is saying, to lose to Everton twice at home in successive seasons and to Moyes, well, simply isn't good enough. He knew what he was doing today. He knew what he was doing. Dark Side of the Moon says 7 points off Brentford, and look how many players they sold. And a brand new manager who was a set-piece coach before he became the manager. How many people wrote Brentford off? I did. Christ. I'm not going to run away and pretend that I didn't. I wrote them right off at the start of the season. Lost Wissa, lost Mbuemo, lost, was it Norgard, that captain? Lost Thomas Frank. And look at them. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. But there's so many excuses that will go for how to protect them in the press and in the fan base, because that's how it works. Dank saying, why play a club record player for a player who clearly doesn't fit your system? Because that's who we could have got. I think the owners signed Voldemort and not Eddie Howe. That's what I think. Stephen says, if we give Howe another season and more money to squander, we're in real trouble. I think he does get next season, Stephen, but I think if he struggles, he's gone by Christmas. But yeah, we'll worry about that next season. We've got World Cup to worry about before that. My God. Marcus says, imagine if we could deliver on corners. Oh my God. So bad at corners. Honestly, they could pick a fan out of the crowd and I think we'll put a better corner in. It's dreadful, man. Absolutely dreadful. I don't understand why as well. What are you working on in training? You can't cross the ball. Again, business development saying Champions League isn't a good reflection of our team's form. Tottenham, a relegation team in the last 16. Yeah, very true. The English teams are just a much higher standard than a lot of the other teams in there. And because of the new format, it maybe masks your ability as a squad. You may be right. Jules is in the house. Good to see you, Jules. Mama Dashfi wants away from Liverpool. Yeah, I wanted him before he went to Liverpool. Again, the club probably moved a bit too slow on that one. I'd have him. I think he's a good keeper. Certainly better than Pope, in my opinion. Newcastle are better on my FIFA. Better on mine too, because I cheat and go and sign good players and then do a season. Stephen says, Walcott and Shearer purring over Gordon last week was borderline macabre. So much was removed from reality. Yeah, I don't disagree, mate. I think, again, Anthony Gordon is in that England clique now, so he's highly rated by everybody. Look at his numbers, man. Look at his output. Attacking players are measured on their output, man. And he's just not giving it. He's not giving enough for me. Simon said, got no confidence in anyone at the club currently. How bad is that? It's awful, Simon. You're entitled to your opinion, mate, as well. It's a safe place for you to say that in here. You know, I'm not going to give you a hard time about it. And, you know, these people who clip people up for having opinions and trying to put out their cause pylons, it's a really weird time. We're acting like Arsenal fan bases and Liverpool fan bases and Man United fan bases. I never thought this fan base would stoop to those low levels, but we have this season, you know, and it hasn't been enjoyable to be a Newcastle fan this season, whether you go to the ground every week or whether you don't. You know, you haven't enjoyed large parts of the season. You haven't enjoyed that today. You haven't enjoyed, you know, rubbish points at Wolves. You haven't enjoyed, you know, struggling to beat teams like Burnley and just beating Leeds in the last minute. You haven't enjoyed it. You might enjoy the drama of the last minute winners, but you haven't enjoyed, you know, the games and the standard of football as well. And you're lying to yourself if you said you have, because you just haven't. Paul saying Gordon was poor, trying to put a tackle in. There was one point in the corner. Yeah, he just didn't go for the ball, did he? Yeah, what the fuck was that about, man? That was really, really bad. Probably trying to keep himself fit for the Barcelona game, mate, because that's what he wants to play in, because all the eyes are watching him then and get his move to Liverpool or Arsenal. Patty says, live in the present, not the past. Totally agree with that. Be grateful for what he's done, but football is played in the here and now, and it's not good enough. What a brilliant comment that is, Patty. Well said, mate. And this is the issue, I think. This is the problem, that too many people try and turn a criticism of Howe into you attacking Howe, you know, as a bloke. And you're not attacking him as a bloke. What you're saying is, what he's done in the past is brilliant, but what he's doing right now is not working. He's not getting the best out of the team. The formation's not right. The tactics aren't right. The in-game management isn't there, and all that stuff. And then people get really defensive about it, really upset about it, make it more personal than it needs to be, you know. And I appreciate I maybe sounded a bit personal a few weeks back, but I apologize for that. You know, I said I was over the line with that, and I've dealt with that, right? I'm not going to explain myself again to any of these fucking wet wipes about that. I'm not doing that, right? But you can criticize this manager and still be thankful for what he's done at his time in the club. He knows above anybody else, as Eddie Howe, as a football manager, that he's open for criticism when results don't go so well. Why do you think he looks so pissed off on the sideline when results like that happens? Because he knows he's going to be under a bit of criticism. But a lot of the fan base, and certainly the journalists, won't hear of it. And I think it's unhealthy. I really, really do. I think that managers need to be criticised, and players do, because that's when they get a bit of a feel from the fan base that what they're doing isn't good enough and they need to step their game up. I'm sure, Stephen says, I'm not sure I understand why people can credibly say Howe is the man. Disagree there, Chris. There's no argument other than he won a cup. Look at the money he spent. Yeah, one of my mates texted me that before and said, you're hampered by FFP. I said, we spent 250 million quid, mate. He's a Liverpool fan. He went, oh, fuck, I didn't know you spent that much money. And nobody talks about that either. Yeah, you're right, Links. We need Miley and Bruno back massively. I think having them two in that midfield, I genuinely think would have given us more control in that game. We really lacked it. I thought Willock was way, way below par for what Ramsey was doing in the first half. You know, and if that's Ramsey ill with a stomach bug, fucking hell, shows you how much better he is than Joe Willock any day of the week. You know, so not good. JT Gamers in the comments says, I'm tired of face palm moments from Pope. So am I, mate. And again, Pope's done really well, you know, since he's been in his football club, but he's not the answer, man. We should have had a better goalkeeper than that by now. Comment there saying, you know, Eddie will scrape a win versus Man U and keep his job. Thanks for the super chat, mate. Yeah, he probably will. I don't think he will. I'm away for that one. I'm away at a day job work conference, sadly, so I won't be on the post-match reaction to that. Mark will be here, so he'll be more balanced, but I think Man United will be, as I generally do. Reece says, so if we get knocked out of the FA Cup and the Champions League, is Eddie's time coming to win? I don't think they will, Reece. I don't think this ownership will get rid of him. I think if he gets knocked out of the FA Cup, he gets knocked out of the Champions League, and he doesn't get European football, which is a real possibility, I still think he's the manager here next season. I generally do. For right or for wrong, he'll be the manager here next season. But all the pressure will be on him, because if he doesn't deliver in the first few months of the season next season, he will be in big trouble, 100%. John says, our team aren't good enough. We take one step forward and two back. Absolutely. Just when you think things are getting better, we go back to rubbish results. It's the inconsistency. We've left way too many points out there, way too many points. And the European football dream really looked difficult months ago. I'm a pragmatist, right? I respect the optimists, and I respect the people who always have hope and think, right, we can do it still. But months ago, I saw an inconsistency in this team that showed me they weren't going to have, the kind of the levels to keep up the performances to get Champions League football for certain, even Europa football. I didn't think it, and I definitely don't think it now, because I think the home games that we had to win all of them. I mean, if we win one away game that you're not expecting, like a Chelsea, maybe there's a chance. But performing like that with the injuries we've got and the players that we have at our disposal, sorry, not for me. I don't think that's on the cards. We've got a toffee in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Congratulations on your win. What a vintage game. I'd not have been disappointed if mine lost or draw. Good game, lads. Yeah, thank you, mate. I hope you enjoyed it. You deserved every single bit you got of that game. You deserved the win. I thought you were the better team from start to finish. Thought you used the ball better. You had more intensity. You were the first to every ball, first to every second ball. Your passing was crisp, and you just played us off the park. We were poor, but you guys did what you needed to do. So good performance and a good result for Everton, sadly. Shit for us. Golden Banjo, no mentality, unfortunately. Certainly not a winning mentality. Here's a question for you all. If Bruno Guimaraes plays in a game like that, at his Bruno best, do we win that game? Do we get back in that game and win it 3-2 if Bruno's on the pitch? I think we might do. Miley would contribute as well. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that at all. But I think that Bruno Guimaraes carries us over the line in a game like that, and we win that game, in my opinion. 50 says, Chris, hearing boos again at St. James's Park really hurts. The owners must see this and take action. I don't think they will. I think the owners are so distant, they're so far away from the day-to-day things to do with Newcastle United that they think Eddie's got it all intact. They left him in charge of all the transfers. He signed all the players in the summer. His nephew was, doing his little thing on Teams and trying to get players where other teams are flying out to Rodgers. There's 6 people over there on private jets to get him. And it was what it was. And I don't think the owners will pull the trigger. I think if he doesn't get European football and they see the drop in revenue, they'll certainly wonder what the fuck's going on. And there'll be a very uncomfortable meeting with Hopkinson to say, why have we lost all this money? And he'll have to explain is because we didn't finish in the league positions and we didn't sign anybody in January to bolster the squad. And then they may ask questions, well, why didn't we? And then Howe will have to explain himself. But he'll get next season. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion. He'll get next season. Paul says, Bruno hamstring looked okay when he was reeling in that fish off the boat in Brazil. Yeah, he certainly was smiling away, wasn't he, to be fair? Chippers also says 13 points off 5th, and that's 5 wins needed at least for that. Not a fucking chance. That is a tough slog. If you look at the fixtures that we've got left, so Chippers is saying we need 5 wins out of those fixtures. So let's just have a look at the Premier League fixtures that we have on the cards. I mean, these are tough fixtures. So you got Manchester United midweek at St. James's Park. If this was Ruben Amorim's Manchester United, I'd fancy our chances, but it's not. It's Michael Carrick's Manchester United, much improved. Top players playing really well. Shesko's starting to score. Put your money on him scoring if you gamble. Bet responsibly. We've got Chelsea away. Can't see us get anything from that. We've got the tiny and weird derby at St. James's Park. The need to win that, and Howe needs to win that massively. Palace away, which is a shit ground for us generally. Palace aren't having a great season. Glasnow's thinking about walking. They've lost big players, but it's not a good ground for us. We don't travel very well, especially to London. Then come the bogey teams. We've got Bournemouth at home. Then we're Arsenal away. Arsenal champions elect. Don't think we'll get nothing out of that game. Brighton at home, which we always have a mare against them. Then we've got Forest away, who are fighting for their lives, who, were unlucky to get beat by Liverpool, who spanked us 4-1 at the City ground. They only beat them 1-0. We've got West Ham at home again, who are fighting for lives, and then Fulham away. So Chippers is right. 5 wins out of those games is really, really difficult. You can see the table there. Newcastle United are sitting in 12th in the table after spending 250 million quid this summer and having, the 7th or 8th largest wage bill in the Premier League. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. I don't care how much you want to dress it up and how much Kool-Aid you've downed and how happy you are and how much you love the manager. I don't care if you go to bed with a picture of next to the bedside table and give him a kiss every night. That's not good enough for Newcastle United. They should be demanding more than that. The manager should be demanding more than that. The owner should be demanding more than that. But I generally think we're going to finish probably around about 9th or 10th. this season. The highest I think we can finish is probably 8th or something like that. You know, as Craig says, your eyes don't lie. We've been shit all season with the odd win to paper over the cracks. We've gone backwards. You know, that's not a ridiculous comment either. You know, Craig will get attacked for that if he said that on social media, but not in these comments, mate. I think you're absolutely right. Comment there saying, missing Bruno, Miley, Livermore, Botman, all first 11 stars. Take 4 stars out of most teams, they'll struggle. We have Trippier, Willock, Ramsey, and Burners replacements. Terrible. And that goes back to the manager and the ownership not enhancing the squad enough to deal with these injuries, to deal with the fatigue. It's not like they didn't see all this football coming. It's not like they didn't see the Champions League coming and fighting on 4 fronts for cups and everything else. They must have seen this coming. And then January comes, we've got so many injuries. We've got more people in beds than bloody Holby City, man. And they didn't sign anybody. Didn't sign any fullbacks. Didn't sign any centre-back covers. Fabian Schär was knackered. Livramento was knackered. Trippier was looking like he was 44, not 34. And they didn't sign anybody. And then you got the CEO saying one thing and the manager saying another. Nobody knows what the real truth is. But Newcastle United have really fucked this up. The summer was disastrous, the whole Isak scenario. The signings haven't been good enough. The form's not been good enough. The players haven't been good enough. The manager's tactics and in-game management hasn't been good enough. The January transfer window was atrocious. And we are kind of where we probably deserve to be right now, and that's 12th in the Premier League table with big games to come. 10 left in the Premier League. Can Newcastle get anywhere near top 5? I don't think so. I think there's very little chance of that. More chance of me winning Miss Newcastle, I think, than them getting top 5. So vote for me if I go in for it, by the way. I'll have to get me mustache waxed probably. But yeah, there's no chance of them winning that or getting to the top 5, in my opinion. No chance of winning the FA Cup either, in my opinion. I think City will beat us there. Champions League, we're getting as far as Barca, in my opinion. This sounds really negative, but I'm just being pragmatic. Sorry, I don't believe that's going to happen. I really, really don't. I don't believe that Newcastle are going to win these games, not with that squad they've got, not with the injuries that they've got, you know. And for me, I'm just bored of it all, really. I really am. The season's just been awful. It's been really, really poor, you know, and I'm just not bothered. 2 seconds. I'm just going to get rid of a little happy clapper there, I think. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not, but he's gone because I can't be asked for that noise, to be brutally honest with you. If you want to, swing from the rooftops, mate, and celebrate a 3-2 defeat at home to Everton, you fill your boots, mate, but I'm not joining you in that party. So that's me done, guys, for today. Sorry, it's a bit of a doomy, gloomy one. I just thought that game was rubbish. I thought the lads didn't really put the effort in. I thought they got what they deserved, which was absolutely nothing. There's no excuse because they play with a handbrake on for 84 minutes against Karabag midweek. Didn't really test themselves. Should have went in that game with more energy. Should have went in that game with more determination, more desire and quality. And none of that shone through at all. Everton deserved all the 3 points, and Newcastle have just made it even harder for themselves to get European football next season. So that's me done that, guys. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe below if you haven't already. Thank you for all the live chat comments. It really helps the episode flow. Me and Mark are going to be back on Monday with What's Going On at 9:30. We'll talk a little bit more about this one. A little bit more about what it means for Newcastle, the squad, some of the noises in the transfer market, about the goalkeepers. That's very pertinent after today with that shambles from Nick Pope. Also, someone to talk about this crazy badge that's being kicked down the road. Thank God. Remember that one. We'll jog your memory on Monday about that as well. But there'll be some more videos coming as well. We're going to have a Willa Sula video, I think, coming through about what to do with Willa Sula, probably coming out tomorrow as well. I don't know if I'll do an aftermath. I think I've said everything I need to say really in this video. We'll save it for Monday, guys. But thanks for watching. Try and have a good evening wherever you are, morning, afternoon in the world. Have a belter. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Celebrate. They have done it.